Hello and welcome back to St John's Seminary at Wonersh, part of our little series of videos for you about pilgrimage, looking forward to that time when all of this lockdown is over and that we can start visiting places again. So we've been thinking about lots of different ones over the last few videos. And today we're going to talk a bit about the pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela, and I'm joined by Michael and Joseph to talk about this. It's a slightly unusual pilgrimage, isn't it? The emphasis is really on the journey in this one. Michael, perhaps you'll start by telling us a bit about the journey and where it is you go to.
Well, the journey, there are several types of, there are several starting points. But the requirement, in order to, yes, it's a pilgrimage, but the requirement to get the medal or the certificate is to do at least 100 kilometers walking. I did the English way, but there are other routes. You've got the Portuguese way, the French way. The English way starts from A Coruña or from Ferrol. In fact, it's longer from Ferrol. It's about 110 kilometers from Ferrol. But I did it from A Coruña, which is actually 96 kilometers. But we added some more to make sure to get the certificate. So the actual journey is almost more important than getting to the destination, because it's on the journey that you have your you say your prayers, that you have time to think about why you're doing it, and you have time to yourself and with the group you're with. I think it's more important than the actual walk.
And when you get there, Joseph, you get to Santiago, which is the big shrine of St James in Spain.
Yeah, that's right. So Santiago de Compostela, it's the place where St James's remains were believed to have been sort of moved when they were discovered in sort of northern Spain, the Galicia region. And it links back to St James coming over to that part of the world before his return to Jerusalem, to preach.
No. So
it's quite a strong tradition that's sort of carried through. But you get there to Santiago and you have the big cathedral, and there are many things about that cathedral which make it quite special. When you have this huge sort of thurible, that's sort of swung sort of across.
Yeah, so this is this wonderful incense burner, isn't it? And it's suspended from the ceiling. Perhaps our viewers would like to sort of type into YouTube and find it. It's the most amazing thing to look at. I'd love to see it. It looks just ridiculous, frankly, but wonderful.
Yeah, and there are about 8 different people sort of pulling the ropes with that. So it's a lot of manpower. Yeah.
So they really sort of put on a show and welcome the pilgrims who get there, don't they? By the time you've gone through this trek.
They do. I think because they have masses. I think they have 2 masses a day during the time of the seasons of the trek. And if you've done over 100, probably if you've done, it doesn't matter what you've done, they generally call your names during the mass. And as Joseph said, yes, the botero, which is the incense, an amazing thing. I think it's the largest in Europe, if I'm not mistaken.
It must be in the world, surely. It's so big.
I think there are several of those. Either medieval times, that is actually what they used to use in certain churches, in cathedrals, I think. Maybe in that part of Europe.
Yeah, if I'm right, I think it links back to the pilgrims arriving in Santiago being quite unclean essentially.
Well, yeah,
just being washed, with water, really, as a way of washing large numbers of pilgrims.
And covering up the smell, dare we say it. I mean, trekking through northern Spain in the summer must be tough. I mean, both of you, did you sort of find it? I mean, it must have been a physically difficult thing to walk. Even 100 kilometres. That's a solid 4 days of trekking, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've done several. I've been privileged to do several different parts of it, including the Camino Portuguese. And started from Porto to Santiago. I did one which is part of a southern route, and it sort of originates around kind of Sevilla, but then I started around Salamanca, so it's about halfway along the journey, and that kind of bends around. It sort of hugs the border of Portugal, and it goes up past the Rense into Santiago, and that's very scarcely walked. So each one, of course, I did the Camino Frances in different points, different stages, completing the whole path. But that's the most popular one that everyone knows about, really. But yeah, the Via de la Plata is so much more quieter, and you're in much more like the rural parts of Spain, really, for most of it. And each time I found that, I found each time I've gone on the Camino, it's a slightly different experience because you're bringing with you just the things that you're carrying. You've only got a simple backpack, and it's got all the basic things you need. Only a few changes of clothes so you can wash and so you're not carrying too much. Maybe a book if you need it, and the basic sort of toiletries and things like that. But you're just keeping it simple, and you're just there with your thoughts, reflecting upon what's going on in your life, being able to pray. The rosary is a great tool as you're walking along. So it really is wonderful, and that sense of journey, you just get more into it every day. You're walking in one direction, and just able to really sort of, I suppose, press into what God is doing in your life and around.
I think that's really interesting because most of these pilgrimages that we've been talking about are very specifically Christian, and this one is as well. Obviously, we're going to a shrine of St James, but in a certain sense, it's kind of open to anybody. That experience of journeying, of walking, of reflecting, it's something that anybody could find beneficial, and lots of different sorts of people do it, don't they?
Most definitely. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Charlie Sheen did it, or some.
Oh, really?
I think it was Charlie Sheen, or someone did it. I know a Hollywood star did it. Was it Martin Sheen? Yeah. So many people do it, and they're not necessarily all Christian as such. We hope they may become Christian, but yes, it's just the actual walk and the camaraderie almost, because even if you're by yourself, you always find you meet people, either at the alberges, if you stay in alberge. I will say...
These are little hostels where you stay on the way.
Yes. I will say I took the easy route. Mine was fully paid for by my parish. I didn't even know about the Camino before then. So we would do the walk, maybe 20 or 30 kilometers, and then we'd stay in a nice hotel. And then from there, and our bags would be carried across to the next hotel. So it was luxurious. So maybe one day I'll go and do the proper Camino with a backpack. We did go to an albergue to eat. But my point though is that you're never alone. Even if you are alone as such, you're never alone because you constantly see people walking along anywhere, and they're always ready to say hello and smile. And I mean, you can't run out of food anyway because people will offer you things. No one had to offer me anything because I was in the group, but it's open to anyone.
It's a wonderful thing that it's such a great experience of fellowship as well as of faith, and that's that sounds like a wonderful thing. I'll have to book my tickets to Spain as soon as we can. Well, there we are. Thank you both of you. Thank you, Joseph and Michael, and thank you for joining us today. We hope you found that inspirational, something for you to look forward to. Please do keep us in your prayers and know that we're praying very much for you as well. So thank you and goodbye.